God is all-pervading. There's not a single space where God is not. God neither has any parts. Even if we say that we are a part of God, or we are many parts of that same one God, and it is all-pervading, then really there is nothing but God, even in that explanation, because even if you are a part of God, then literally that is still God. There's no other way of looking at it. So when we say God is all pervading, we're literally saying He's everywhere. So if He's everywhere, or it is everywhere, then even that which has parts or is partless, it's that same one that is being experienced. Or more so, we are experiencing God, or we are God experiencing itself through what appears to be many parts or even partless. Now, I want to welcome you to the Bearded Mystic podcast, and I'm your host, Rahul N. Singh, and I generally talk about Advaita Vedanta, non-duality, and that tends to be what we teach here, but sometimes we talk about other matters which does have an impact on our personal dharma, and therefore we have to talk about it. But this is an important one. When we say that God is all-pervading, then literally we are saying that every single particle, every single atom contains God. There's nothing that can, it doesn't say that it's partly pervading this, or even if we have the notion of good and evil, right? It cannot be only pervading the good and then not pervading evil. That would not support the all-pervading quality that is given to God. Sometimes we say God is omnipresent. Well, again, omni means only, and present means present, so the only one present. So if it's omnipresent and it's the only one present, then where is me and mine in this? Eventually we have to understand that there is nothing but this formless, nothing but this consciousness, and that is what we truly are. Now, even as a body and mind, now let's look at it through a different way. Instead of negating the body and mind, let's look at it in the sense of, well, what if this body and mind also has God pervading it? Now, if you think in that way, then your body becomes a temple, your mind becomes a temple. So would you speak ill about others? Would you harm others? Would you deliberately cause harm to others? I know that sometimes we can do things accidentally. But purposefully, if you try to harm other people, can that happen when you are consciously aware that God is pervading your mind, that God is pervading your body? So even what we intake through the body is important. What we do with our body, keeping a healthy lifestyle, that's when you know that God is residing in your body. So when we have that perspective in life, then every thought we want has the ability to create profound effects of transformation. We can transform from being so limited to something limitless within seconds, within a moment that again will turn into eternity, because we realize that this being that we call God is timeless. Now, a lot of people tend to also think that if you believe in Advaita Vedanta, you don't believe in God. That's not necessarily true. I've done an episode on this before, but I'll say it again. Yes, I used to be an atheist. I'm not one now. I kind of have departed away from that for some time now. But I understand the necessity of beginning on this path as an atheist. I can see the benefits. When you have to rid yourself of all notions. For example, a notion that I did have was that we are different parts of God. And so there was me that's separate and God that is separate, and one day we will merge. And most likely we will merge after death. Now, the problem with that type of belief, not that it's bad, but the limiting aspect of that belief was that it wasn't going with my experience. Meaning that once I connected with God, there was only God present, and therefore it's very hard to say, well, I'm a part of this. No, there is no separation. Therefore, to say one is a part of something would be actually limiting even the limitless in this aspect. So, for example, if this part of God is taken away to some other universal planet, does it still remain with you? Does it still remain? Does that still remain part of God? Say that God is just of this universe, But you see my point. It's a limiting belief. It's somewhat a blind belief, something that I maybe falsely understood. So when we understand that, well, I'm not, simply a part of God, I'm not separate to God, then it's very different. So my atheism at one time, it freed me from certain concepts. But at the same time, as I came back into spirituality, or should I say, I was still in spirituality. I don't think it was the absence of spirituality. So when it came to relearning, so I had to unlearn, now I have to relearn, it came to a point where God was actually undeniable, because I understood that the fundamental part of existence is consciousness. And the scriptures talk about consciousness. So I had actually subtly probably believed that God was some sort of being somewhere. But then when I understood that God is existence, then I was like, oh, well, that makes more sense. It's the one playing the game of many, but actually it's just one. And, we can entertain ourselves and think that we're part of the many. But then when we take a closer look and we go deeper into our spiritual practice, and we actually start having that experience of oneness and unity, then we understand that actually it's only the game of the one that's being played. So fundamentally, if God is all-pervading, and it's pervading here right now, then there's nothing except God. And even the notion that there's a separate me, a separate you, simply doesn't exist. It's a narrative that this mind that has created, that thinks it's separate to the God that is already pervading it. So that's a different aspect to maybe a non-duality in the traditional sense. But if you really want to go deeper into this all-pervading aspect, and we go deeper into it as a meditation, it can take us really far, and it can really, really bring us to experience liberation right now in this life. So once we understand that this formless consciousness that we call God is within everything, no such thing, within everyone, within every being, there's no single place on this existence where this is not, then simply resting in this formless awareness becomes a very simple matter for us. And that is the end of the episode. If you like this episode, please like it, comment and subscribe, and sign up to the Discord, to the WhatsApp group. Let me know if you want to join, and I'll be more than happy to add you. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Namaste.